What's up, everybody? My name is Sucker. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Toronto Raptors. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like rating on it down below and check out my socials in the description as well. With all those things said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so Toronto is in a situation they haven't been in a little while. Last year, expectations were weird, but they've never really been this low for a Raptors team in the Nick Nurse era. A lot of win projections right now have them somewhere in like the mid-30s in an Eastern Conference that typically they're just penciled in as a playoff team in. And I wanted to talk about just kind of the mystery surrounding this team, because I think the two avenues for this team are sneaky, dangerous playoff team, potentially like top 6 team in the East, or like a full-on tanking team. I think there's that much variance in potential outcomes. I think it's going to be either like really, really positive or really, really negative in terms of a record. I want to kind of make the case for both sides and just kind of talk out what could be a really, really interesting Toronto team this upcoming season. So first, let's make the case for them being a sneaky playoff team. So for me, it starts with the coach. It starts with Nick Nurse, a guy that I generally think is one of the better coaches in the NBA, did a fantastic job in that 2019 title run. And when you go back and think about that Raptors team that won the title in 2019, the defining characteristic of them for me was not Kawhi necessarily. It was defensively. They had so many different active wing guys that had crazy length, and they had all these different defensive schemes. They would play full court, they would play half court, they would play zone, they would attack you on the perimeter. They would do so many different things that they were a nightmare to play against in the regular season or the postseason. When you go and think about having OG and Kawhi Leonard, and obviously Kawhi was fantastic at certain points offensively in the postseason, and Lowry was very good, and Van Vliet was really good. But really the defining thing for me was Nick Nurse just being the mad scientist of defense in that season and really unlocking a crazy amount of length and versatility and defensive potential within those lineups. And then I look at this team for this season and I start to see some similarities. OG continues to improve. Siakam is still here. They've got Scotty Barnes there. They've got Precious Achiuwa. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, this feels like a Nick Nurse team to me. This feels like a team that he could bring to like a 43, 44, 45 win team. Really wouldn't surprise me with this roster depending on what happens with it. You've got guys that can score for you, and Van Vliet, who hopefully continues to step up. Dragic, if he decides to stay. Siakam, if he can figure out his differences, I guess, with the coaching staff. And then again, defensively, OG, Precious, Scotty Barnes. There's just a lot of different options here that I really, really like. And I got to mention Chris Boucher here as well. And the whole case for like this being a sneaky playoff team to me revolves around the faith I have in Nick Nurse as a head coach and his ability to get these guys to lock in and play really good defense, and just kind of throwing last season out the window. Now, the opposite side of the spectrum here would be like, okay, maybe they're just not that talented and it makes more sense for them to tank this season, and that's what ends up happening. The path for that would be Van Vliet doesn't step up as much as you would hope for him to with, Lowry no longer being there. Dragic is unhappy and eventually gets traded. Siakam continues to have issues with the coaching staff, similar to some of the stuff that we saw last year, and he, doesn't step up. They don't have enough offense. The Lowry void is really significant, and they just kind of realize that the better long-term plan for them is to develop guys like Scotty Barnes and OG and try and get one more big-time guy to add to this group and think a bit more in the long term. And like I said, a lot of projections have these guys like in like the 36.5, 35.5 win range, and I kind of see them as either in the 40s or in the 20s. Like there's really no in between. And I want to just say, last year was weird. Throw it out the window. They're playing in Tampa. They didn't get to play in Toronto. They're going to have, a renewed sense of like home and being able to play in front of their home crowd, hopefully. And that would really propel them. But I really legitimately don't know. This is such a strange circumstance for Toronto to be in. We're so used to them being that steady team that always delivers and reaches expectations. And last year, obviously, that wasn't the case. But again, it was such a strange season, and they were one of the hardest hit teams by the variety of different circumstances that made last season and the season before so difficult. And I would feel much more confident in going out on a limb here and saying they're going to be a sneaky playoff team if there was a bit more consistency with this roster. Dragic gets traded there and immediately is like, yeah, I have higher aspirations than playing for the Toronto Raptors this season. And he's just continually linked. It's almost like he's basically already playing for Dallas and playing for Luka Doncic. Like it's such a weird situation that he just came out and was like, I don't really want to play here. Yet he's still there. Precious is a guy that I really like. I'm not sure that he's ready to be like a 30-minute per game 5-man, and it's either him or Boucher. They really don't have a ton of size. And then the Siakam thing. It's a huge, huge Siakam year. The first couple of months of the season after they won the title and Kawhi left, Pascal Siakam was like a second-team All-NBA guy. He was like getting MVP buzz the first couple of months of that season, and things have just kind of dropped off for him since. And my opinion of him generally is just he's a good player. He can score. He's not worthy of a max contract, in my opinion. However, if he's put in a situation where like he's the third guy and he can just be a maniac like bowling ball all over the court and sprint up and down and get to the rim and guard and be active and space the floor a little bit and not be the, hey, you have the basketball, go get us a bucket guy. He's very, very good, and he has a super valuable piece, and that's the role he filled on that 2019 title team. But can he be the primary scoring guy in a team that kind of needs him to be one? I don't know. I really wouldn't be surprised if we get to the end of this season and Dragic is on a different team, Siakam is on a different team, Van Fleet, there's potentially some buzz, and they're looking at, all right, we've got OG, we've got Gary Trent, we've got Scotty Barnes, and we've got a top 5 pick. And those are the things that we're rolling with moving forward, because this has been one of the better franchises in the entire league over the last couple of seasons. And I think of all franchises, they would recognize, hey, we've been to the top, we've won our title, how can we get back there? And just continually trying to be a 40-win team might not be the best way for them to do that. And if they can move some of these things, get some assets, get another top 5 pick, all of a sudden we're looking at a situation that looks really, really favorable for Toronto, that has one of the better front offices in the league, has shown a history of being able to develop players consistently, and again, I think one of the better head coaches in the league. So the bottom line is, I could actually see them as like the 6th seed in the East this season and just being an absolute nightmare to play defensively. They come out with something to prove this year, to prove last year was a fluke. It was super weird. Siakam is super focused. They're just an absolute menace defensively, and they're the 6th seed, and everybody's like, wait, how did they finish in front of Chicago this season? What is happening? Why is Chicago in the play-in game and Toronto is a 6th seed? This is weird. We always have a surprise team like that, and I would not be surprised in any way if that team is Toronto. But again, I also wouldn't be surprised if they're picking top 5 in the lottery this upcoming season and Dragic and Siakam are elsewhere. So what I want to know is what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. Make the case. Do you think they're a sneaky playoff team? Do you think they're a potential tanking team? Where are you at with Toronto? Because I legitimately need some guidance. I don't know what to think about this team. My instinct says that because of the intelligence of the front office and how good of a job they've done of understanding where they're positioned in the NBA and kind of the moves they need to make, going back to the Kawhi trade and understanding we're not where we want to be, let's take this big swing, and it works out for them. That history to me tells me they're going to recognize that this is just not their year, and they need one more year. They need one more guy. They need a year where Scotty Barnes is getting too much offensive responsibility, but it's going to end up being good for him in the long run for his development. They're not just going to stick him in the corner. They're going to use some of the passing ability that he has. They're going to be working him at the elbows. They're going to be playing him at the small ball 5 sometimes. And they're going to use this season to develop him in OG. And it's not going to be great for their record this season, but in the long term, those guys are going to really, really develop. They bring in one more piece, and all of a sudden we're looking back on this season as like this was the turning point for Toronto. They went through 2 really rough years, but then they were back. That's what my instinct is, just based off of the experiences we have with this franchise and with this front office, that they're going to understand the situation they're in, that it doesn't make a lot of sense to keep a player in Dragic that is an expiring free agent and doesn't want to be there and wants to go somewhere else, probably to Dallas, where you can get value out of someone like Dragic. And if the Siakam thing isn't working and he's on this big contract, maybe that's something that they look to move as well. This is a team that positioned themselves to potentially be in the running for Giannis. That didn't work out, and now they're pivoting. Now they're transitioning to a completely different era of Toronto Raptors basketball, and I think that's where I'm going to land, is that this is a potential tanking team this season, a really interesting group, but one that I don't expect to be in postseason contention down the stretch of the season. Again, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think, because I'm super, super interested. It's one of the most interesting teams in the league for me, as we are now like 5 days away, by the way, or something like that. I don't even know when this video is going to go out, but we're only a few days away basically from the start of the NBA season, and I can't wait. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like rating on it. Check out my socials as well. Check out the boxes on the screen for more videos just like this from me. And yeah, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Once again, my name is Tucker, and I will see you all next time.